open it up to some questions and answers here. Karen, do we have any questions that have appeared in the chat that you'd like to throw at me, see if I can answer them?
Actually, there are several that have come through, and a couple of them were all kind of related around mortgages.
Okay.
A couple of people were asking, does it only work with mortgages, or can you use it for other debts?
Yes, that's an excellent question. I showed mortgages because those are usually the biggest debt that most people have, certainly the biggest amount of expense and interest that we usually pay on a loan. But we can address any kind of debt. In fact, we generally have three different levels of the platform, if you will. One is for individuals that don't own a home, or they simply just don't have a mortgage. Maybe they have a car loan, or a student loan, or a personal loan, or a credit card loan. If they have under $80,000 in total debt, that's what we call our gold platform, right? And that is the functionality is limited to those types of loans. So yes, absolutely, it's not necessary to have a mortgage. But if you do have a mortgage, you could have unlimited debt. And by unlimited, I do mean unlimited. I think the most I've personally seen is $3.1 million. That's quite a bit of debt, but you're capped at 3 mortgages. And on the other end of the spectrum, to what our velocity of money guy, Frank DePold, mentioned earlier, for real estate investors, we have another platform that you can have up to 99 properties. So whether or not you're somebody that just has a student loan, a couple credit cards, a personal loan, maybe some other form of debt, a car loan, or you're somebody that has 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 mortgages, we can actually help you.
Super. And along that same line, someone said, well, what if I am trying to get a mortgage? Would this help my debt to income ratio?
Well, as somebody that's been in around the mortgage business 25 years, I'm going to tell you emphatically yes. And here's why. Because two things, not just ratios, scores. The number one thing that drags down scores, and people think, oh, late payments, liens, charge-offs, judgments, sure, those are obvious, right? But it's generally fully maximizing your credit card lines, right? It's utilization ratio. That will lower your scores. That's one of the reasons a lot of people can't qualify for loans. Number two, it's ratios, right? It's your debt to income ratio. Well, if we're putting you on a path to eliminate up to 2/3 or more of your interest, that money's going to be able to go and attack that debt much more quickly. If you're able to reduce that balance, you are absolutely going to lower your ratios and therefore improve your ability to qualify for a mortgage. It's one of the reasons we have so many mortgage partners, because it's such a great tool to help people better maximize the use of their money, improve their scores, lower the ratios, all the way around. Absolutely, it's going to help them be in a better position to qualify for a mortgage, whether it's a refinance or a new purchase.
Super. And the one other thing about mortgages, somebody said, what about if I'm an investor with lots of mortgages? How does it really work for that?
Oh my gosh, you guys, I love that one. I'm going to throw you a little curve that many of you might not really resonate with you unless you're a real estate investor, but there's something called cap rate. And when you start realizing that zero is your hero section of the presentation I talked about, you might be paying 6% on a loan, 7, 8% on a loan. If you've got investment properties, right now, a traditional 30-year mortgage is right around 7%. That's an investment property. The rate is not lower, it's higher. There's more exposure, there's other factors involved. Let's say that rate was 8%. Imagine if we could lower your overall net effective interest rate on every debt you have, including your mortgage, to 2% or less. We've just bumped your cap rate significantly. And again, for those of you that work in that world, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So the profitability and the formula used to own those properties, I thought Frank, you guys said it perfectly. Use the bank's money to buy the home, use the client's money on rent to pay it off, and use our system to systematically help you eliminate interest and pay it off much more quickly, which will help you accelerate your equity position. And here's a great one for you. What if we could help you increase your equity position even faster, even in a down or declining market? Because if we're paying down that debt faster, we're growing your equity position, which could help you actually accumulate more properties more quickly. Imagine if you could own 3, 4, 5 properties or more in the exact same time you would have been lucky to pay off 1. Frank talks about it. Literally owning 3 properties along with some other types of vehicles and savings and investments could literally make you financially independent for life. We're helping to accelerate no matter what vehicle. Bill referenced this. When you're using GPS doesn't care who's driving, and it doesn't care what destination you choose. Its goal is one, it's singular. How do I get you as quickly there as possible? Our system is the same. It doesn't care what vehicle you're using. If you've got a checking and savings account, we can utilize that. If you've got a line of credit, personal, business, home equity, we can use that. Or there's another more advanced strategy that's using a properly structured, overfunded permanent life insurance contract as the offset account vehicle. So we've got multiple different platforms, multiple different ways to own it, multiple different ways to leverage it. That's why we say it is the single most dynamic platform in the industry, not to mention all the support and training that we provide with the program.
Super. This is kind of related too with the mortgages. They were saying, but my interest rate's so low already. They got in at the right time, it sounds like. Do they really need the money max?
Well, but then the question is it really? Remember what I showed what your interest volume is on a 3% mortgage? 59%. You see, here's the voodoo math. Are you ready? It's not interest rate. It's how the interest is calculated, how the finance charges are assessed, and how and when the payments are applied that determines true debt service cost or interest volume. It's all about interest volume or the percentage of interest, not the interest rate. Let's illustrate it this way. Let's say, for argument's sake, you had a 6% mortgage and you had a 6% line of credit and a 6% car loan and a 6% credit card. Which would you pay first? Well, they all look the same, don't they? But they only appear that way because it's all about how that particular loan calculates interest and applies payments. Well, let's illustrate it this way. Let's use Kieran, Kevin. I'm going to use you as a pretend example for a moment, okay? So let's say that Kira runs up $1,000 balance on her credit card, okay? Whether Kevin wants her to or not, let's say she did it without telling him. Who knows, right? Okay. If you pay off that balance in full before the end of the month, how much interest do you pay? Well, zero. But then the question is, did the interest rate make any difference at all in that equation? Whether it was a 0% interest rate or 29.99%, you still paid zero because the interest rate wasn't the operative factor, was it? It's how that particular loan vehicle calculates interest and how it applies payments. Let's go a step further. Line of credit, personal line of credit, business line of credit, right? Home equity line of credit. Let's say you borrow that same $1,000 on the 1st and you pay it off on the 17th or the 20th or the 24th. Well, you don't pay zero interest because it doesn't work exactly like a credit card, but it calculates finance charges on an average daily balance basis, which means you're no longer paying 6% on the whole $1,000. You might be paying the equivalent of 2 or 3%. So again, was interest rate the most operative factor? No, it was how that particular vehicle works. You could use the same example with car loans and mortgages. Mortgages are front end loaded by default. So here's your question of the day. If you had a 6% interest rate on your mortgage, or let's say you have a 7% interest rate right now, and 2 years from now, rates go down to 5%, let's just say for argument's sake. Have you ever wondered exactly why your bank would have any desire whatsoever into refinancing you into a lower rate? Why would they be incentivized to charge you less? Well, there's 3 reasons. Because 73% of people with 24 years or more go back to how many years? 30. Now, whose advantage is it to add 4, 5, 6, 8 years to the length of your debt? I'll give you a clue. It's not yours. It's to the banks. And are there costs involved? Absolutely. Could be $6, $8, $10, $12,000. Who knows based on the size of the loan? Again, the question is, whose advantage is it to increase the size of your loan? You or the bank? Definitely not to your advantage. And here's the real kicker that nobody wants to talk about. If you reset the clock on that loan back to day one, you just increase the amount of interest volume that's going as a percentage on each payment, even if you lowered the rate. That's why they want you to do it. Now, that's not to say that there's not ever a place to refinance. I'll be clear. Maybe you're doing a renovation project to increase the value of your home. Maybe you are doing some consolidation. But if you don't incorporate a system like this, that's now going to identify how it can properly redirect those dollars you saved, you're going to do exactly what Kira and Kevin said, and 90% of America. We're just kind of neander along and not realize how to systematically deploy and direct those dollars to help you bank like a bank. And here's the last one I'll add to that. Huge misnomer. The number one reason we don't save much money anymore in savings accounts, reserves, emergency funds is because if we make 5,000 a month and our fixed expenses are 4, and maybe we spend an extra $100 or $200 a week going to dinner, going to the movies, whatever it may be, we might only end up with $200, $300, $400 a month left at the end of the month. So we find ourselves saying, well, what difference does it make if I make any interest on, $300, $400 a month, especially when rates were only a tenth or a quarter of a point. Well, now a lot of savings accounts are 3, 4, 5%. But you see, here's the thing. That's not how banks make money. They leverage 100% of your $5,000 and any remaining portion of it that is left every day until you spend it. Why are banks the biggest building in any city, in any state, in any country in the world? I'm going to give you a clue. 2 reasons. One is the golden rule. That's not the one you learned in church. It's he who has the gold makes the rules. Possession is 9/10. Number 2, they're constantly deploying the use of their money. They're moving it from one account to the other to do one of 3 things: cancel interest, eliminate debt, or save and accumulate money. Every dollar you have needs 3 jobs. The Money Max account will help you deploy and optimize the use of every dollar you earn, every dollar you have, every day you have it till you spend it, to help you bank like a bank. And that is why we love this program so much.
Hey, Rich, another one. I was going to say that's all for mortgages for right now. But if I were to sign up for the MMA with a mortgage, move and sell, and then purchase another house with a new mortgage, what kind of impact would that look like with the MMA?
All right. Well, I'm going to blow your mind on this one. First of all, when you purchase our program, you own it for life. And by life, I mean if you buy a new car, add it to the system. You buy a new house, add it to the system. You know what we charge you for that? 0. And here's another incredible thing. Again, having been in the mortgage business a long time, if you refinance your mortgage, are there any costs involved? Yeah, a lot. If you buy a new house, same thing. When you own our program, you literally own it for life, and we guarantee the results. Now, can I guarantee you're not going to quit your job? Of course not. Can I guarantee you're not going to throw your laptop in the lake? Come on. But we can guarantee the results on the dashboard. You want to know why? Because unlike almost everything else in life, numbers don't lie. 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4. It's math, it's not magic. Kira said that as well, by the way. That's what's powerful about the system. So when you own it for life. That's why we offer onboarding, training, and customer service for the life of that program. And ironically, like Bill, I've been around us so long that not that long ago at Christie's conference in Orlando, by the way, true story, woman came up to me and said, I think I purchased something like this about 8.5 years ago. I was like, really? Turns out she did buy our program. She went through a divorce. She lost her job. Some things in life happened, and she just got off track. You know what we did? I gave her the toll-free number. She called up. They looked up her account from 8.5 years ago. They reactivated it, and they gave her a whole nother coaching call. And you know what we charged her for that? Nothing. Folks, I've been in this industry 30 years. Nobody does that, right? That is what's so powerful. This isn't like a set it and forget it, good luck and see what happens. When you've got embedded videos for tutorials, you've got a direct messaging, you got a toll-free number, you've got an email address. When we say we're committed to you actually getting out of debt, we mean it. And that is one of the things we're so proud about. So yeah, that is a very simple process. You simply update it. Again, just like GPS. What happens if you stop along the way to go to the gas station and then you pick another destination? Recalculate instantaneously in real time. That's pretty incredible. So for those of you that didn't, before I take it down, scan the QR code if you've not already. At least set up a no cost, no obligation analysis with one of our specialists. Get your debt-free date. See what it can do for you and get your personal complimentary analysis done.